Hi there, the name's Nico, and today I'll be covering all the basic terminology used in Eternal Return. If you have played another MOBA game, there will definitely be some overlap in definitions, but the terms used might be different, so you want to stick around. If you haven't played a MOBA before this game like myself, I hope this will clarify a few things. So let's get started. The first term that you'll hear no matter what character you play is AP. Now, from what I've been told, AP means ability power in League, but in Eternal Return, AP means attack power. Attack power is, well, how much power an attack has. Attack power is a key component in auto attacks as well as the majority of spells in this game. The general statement is the more attack power you have, the more damage you will do with your auto attacks and spells. Things that use attack power can be reduced by an opponent's defense. The higher your opponent's defense, the less damage you will do. Next up is extra basic attack damage, or EBAD. If you have been playing Eternal Return for a while, you will remember this term being referred to as ENAD, or extra normal attack damage. This term means how much additional damage you'll do on any basic attacks. The basic attack that everyone has access to is auto attacks. As an example, if your auto attack would do 100 damage and you have Crusader's armor on, which has 15 EBAD, your auto attack will actually do 115 damage. Unlike AP, EBAD cannot be reduced by defense. EBAD can only be reduced by armor that has normal attack damage taken reduction on it, such as Rocker's Jacket or Sheetha Shah Jahan. If you're playing a character with an auto attack that hits multiple times, such as Heart, you'll probably see this type of damage on almost every piece you run. The last stat related to auto attackers is critical strike chance and critical strike damage. Critical strike chance is the odds that your basic attack, which is generally your auto attack unless your spell is considered a basic attack, which is UKQ, will crit. A critical strike in this game is currently 160% damage. It used to be 200% damage, so if you're watching this in a few months from when I published this number may have changed. So if you're wearing a radar, you will have a 24% chance that each basic attack you will do will apply a critical strike. If your basic attack does 100 damage and you land a critical strike, it will do 160 damage. Critical strike damage is how much bonus damage your critical strike will do. If you're wearing Creed of the Night, your critical strike will do 185% damage. Since the base value for critical strike is 160%, and you add the 25% critical strike damage from Creed of the Night to this value. Rapier characters will do the most amount of damage with critical strike if they spec into critical strike chance and damage because the rapier weapon type all have critical strike damage on them. Critical strikes are treated the same as basic attacks, meaning they can be reduced by defense. Critical strikes can also be reduced by the augment dulled blades. For all those math nerds out there, here are the damage formulas related to basic attacks. Now for our spellcasters, we have two terms that you'll run into: percentage skill or spell amplification, or extra skill or spell amplification. Percentage skill amplification is how much additional damage your spell does as a percentage. So if you have a spell that does 100 damage and are wearing Commander's armor, which has 20% skill amplification on it, your spell would do 120 damage because 100 multiplied by 20% or 1.2 is 120. Percentage skill amplification is better on spells with high base values because the amount of skill damage it does will be multiplied. Percentage skill amplification can be reduced by defense as well as skill damage reduction such as that found on Amazona's armor. If your skills have high base numbers, you will want to run percentage skill amplification. Extra skill damage, or for people who have been around for some time, may refer to it as flat amp. This is extra damage applied to a spell. So if you have a spell that does 100 damage and are wearing Uchiwa, which has 19 extra skill damage on it, your spell will do 119 damage because 100 plus 19 is 119. Even if you have a spell that does 400 damage, you'll only apply 19 extra skill damage on top of this, which is why extra skill damage is better on spells with low base values. Extra skill damage is also good on spells that have multiple instances because it will apply the extra skill damage to each damage instance. An example of this would be Shukai's ultimate, in which he can dish fire out of his walk up to 7 times. So if each wave would normally do 60 damage and you have an Uchiwa on that does 19 extra skill damage, each wave would do 79 damage because 60 plus 19 is 79. Extra skill damage, similar to extra basic attack damage, cannot be reduced by defense. Extra skill damage can only be reduced by skill damage reduction items such as mithril armor. For all those math nerds out there, here's the formula for skill damage. A note related to defense related to spells: having 100 defense is equal to reducing your opponent's defense by half. So if they have a damage that would do 100 damage but you have 100 defense, it would only do 50 damage. If you have 200 defense, it reduces the damage you receive by 66%. So if they have a damage that does 100 damage, you would only receive 33 damage if you have 200 defense. The next two terms relate to each other, and these are Lifesteal and Omnisyphon. Lifesteal is how much damage you heal back based on the damage you have dealt. Lifesteal only applies to basic attacks. So if your auto did 100 damage to someone and you are running Butler's suit, which has 18% lifesteal on it, you will heal for 18 health. Omnisyphon does the same thing as lifesteal, but you'll heal from all sources of damage. So if your spell does 100 damage and you have Moonlight Pendant, which has a 10% Omnisyphon on it, you'll heal for 10 health. An important thing about Omnisyphon is that spells that can hit multiple targets will only heal for half of your Omnisyphon value. Single target spells will heal for the whole Omnisyphon value. Next up is healing reduction. Healing reduction is how much you reduce your opponent's healing by. Your opponent's healing can be from food or from Lifesteal or Omnisyphon. Healing reduction is a fixed value and you cannot stack it, meaning if you're wearing multiple healing reduction items, you'll only get one instance or value of healing reduction. At the time of writing the script, healing reduction for melees is 40%, while healing reduction for ranged characters is 30%. You can apply healing reduction on basic attacks or on spells, depending on the type of healing reduction you have. As an example, if you're wearing Rocker's Jacket, you'll apply healing reduction on your opponent whenever you use a spell. If you're wearing Rhinos, you'll apply healing reduction on your opponent whenever you use a basic or normal attack. Characters that really only auto-attack want to wear healing reduction when they use their basic attacks, while characters that really only use their spells want to wear healing reduction when they use their spells. Here's the formula related to Lifesteal. Cellular damage means damage that cannot be changed by any value I mentioned above. If an item does 100 cellular damage, it will only do 100 damage even if you have EBAD, extra skill damage, or percentage skill damage. Cellular damage can only be reduced by defense. True damage is another damage type in this game. This is damage that cannot be altered by any of the values I previously mentioned, and unlike cellular damage, it ignores defense. So if you were to do 100 true damage, you would do 100 damage to your opponent, even if you have EBAD, extra skill damage, or percentage skill damage. If your opponent has 200 defense, which is a lot, you would still do 100 true damage. Current examples of true damage instances are Adriana's Q and Leon's passive damage. Another damage type is Wickeline or VF buff. Wickeline buff is another form of true damage, but you only receive it if you kill the NPC or PvE Wickeline. The amount Wickeline buff does is fixed and cannot be increased by any of the values I previously mentioned. The dev team might change how much damage Wickeline buff does, but in general, melee's characters will do more damage with Wickeline buff than ranged characters. Now we have a unique passive. A unique passive is something that occurs without you needing to do anything and can only come from one item. The item it will take the unique passive from, if you are stacking multiple items from that unique passive, will be the one that will apply the highest value. As an example, Biotic Infusion is a unique passive in this game. This unique passive can be found on Elysian Halo and Kundala. So if you were to wear both Elysian Halo and Kundala, which I advise against doing so, whatever Biotic Infusion that does the most damage will apply. Elysian Halo and Kundala have different formulas, so it'll depend on whether you build percentage spell amplification or not for Kundala to be better. This is the same as any unique effect in this game. So if you have multiple items built out of feathers such as Helma Banneret and White Crane Fan, you will only get the movement speed boost that provides you with the most value, which in this case at the time of writing this video is 0.08 ms from Helma Banneret. Transition items are an important thing to understand. It's not an in-game terminology, but something a lot of the community will mention. Transition items are items that are strong in the late game and are usually built out of rare resources. Rare resources include Mithril, Meteorite, Tree of Life, Force Core, and Thea Blood Sample. You do not build these items on route because they generally require rare resources, which you are not guaranteed to get, or the routing to make them is so bad that it's not worth making it on your original route. To learn more about transition items, I would check out my basics to transition item video, which should pop up on the right side of the screen and will be linked in the description. As a bonus, I will mention two terms that aren't related to Eternal Return, but MOBAs in general. These are AoE spells and CC abilities. Area of Effect, or AoE, are spells that impact a given area and can hit multiple people. Example spells would be Alex's Ultimate, Lennox Q, and Bianca's Ultimate. All AoE spells in this game, except Lennox Q, do 100% damage to all enemies. CC, or Crowd Control, are spells that apply an immobilization effect. Examples include knockbacks, knockups, stuns, fears, or an even root. Soft CC generally refers to a slow because you can still move and attack, but you can't move like you normally can. If you think I've missed a specific term related to Eternal Return, feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you enjoy Eternal Return as much as I do, consider subscribing, and I hope to see you at the next video.